and so many stories, so many engagements happen during that song live. It's really
in the
special.
show, like at the concert engagements, will happen in the crowd?
Oh yeah, CMA Fest this year.
What?
I was like in the middle of singing Never Till Now, just like, oh, this is so fun. And I was like, wait a minute. Did you just get engaged? They're like, yeah. I was like, what?
Hey friends, it's your girl Emily Curl. We're here at our iHeartRadio offices in New York City, hanging out with country music singer and songwriter Ashley Cooke. Ashley's in the building. Oh, Abby really took a breath to like do a scream with that. That was good.
She was energetic. We love it.
We're so excited to have you here because this is always big. Your debut album, Shot in the Dark.
I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been a really fun journey and a crazy couple of weeks, so I'm very excited.
24 tracks on this album. That was the first thing I noticed, which that's a thick album.
It definitely is. We did not intend for it to be that long, to be honest. I just started writing and I was so inspired and just kept writing songs that I loved, and I was trying to like whittle my way down to like shorter and shorter and shorter, but the 24 songs that are on the album, I couldn't sacrifice any of them. So my label is amazing. They let me do it. And here we are. So,
yeah, I feel like even listening to that album, I feel like it really took me on a journey, and I really feel like I got to know you really well through it. Was that intentional, like, of figuring out all these different sides that you wanted to put on this debut album?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when people ask like kind of what I want people to get from this album when they listen, it really is that. So I'm glad that translated. I want people to feel like they get to know me artistically. I think that, through social media in the last couple of years, I've been online a lot and going live and like talking to people and releasing singles and some EPs and stuff, but I haven't put out a full body of work. And so I'm really excited to just have that out in the world. Somebody can just shuffle through it, listen to it when they're doing whatever they want to do, and feel like they can really get to know me as an artist and the art that I like to create, how I like to say things. All the above. So I'm glad that translated well.
Oh, it did. Okay, we're going to dive more into the album track list. But before we do that, I want to take it back for a second because I was reading about your story. You have such an interesting trajectory. You went to Belmont University in Nashville, which is so funny. My sister actually went there. She would study pharmacy. So she was in pharmacy school, but we always would talk about like how amazing the music program was. But it's funny because you actually didn't go for music originally, right?
I did not. No, I went for corporate communications and marketing. So totally nothing to do with music whatsoever. Honestly, I loved the music program. I thought it was really cool. I respect it so much. I kind of like grew up in music, doing music. And so when I went to college, I was like, man, I want to challenge myself and try different things and see kind of what else the world has to offer.
That's
and
interesting,
luckily, communications and marketing fit totally into music and what I do now. So it ended up working out really great. But yeah, I wasn't in the music program at all. People are always surprised by that.
I was so surprised with that. But you also entered into the Country Showcase, which for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so it's a competition at Belmont that's student ran completely. People like Brad Paisley and FGL and Chris Young have won it in the past. And I submitted to it my senior year, also along with like marketing jobs and seeing kind of what else is out there. And I got into this competition, not being a music major. Everybody was like, who is this girl? And I got in and I won it. And it was like kind of...
That is insane.
Yeah.
To not be,
It was wild. And it's kind of what like, jolted me into focusing on music full-time post-grad. It's weird. It was like a super divinely influenced thing, I like to say. And it was really cool how it all turned out. And I'm happy that I just kind of applied on a whim and won,
At the time, were your friends like, no, Ashley, you have to enter it in? Like, did they know you could sing? Did your friends know you could sing?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, again, I'd been in music since I was a kid. And so I went into college and kind of told people my background, but I was also like kind of in like the sorority world and like totally not the music side of Belmont. So everybody was like, hey, if you think you should just do it, give it a shot. Like, well, the worst that happens is you don't get in or that they just say no. And then you just go on with your life and go into marketing and do whatever you want to do. And so I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's take a shot in the dark.
Oh,
and I was like, let's just try it. And so I applied and I got in. And everybody was like, I mean, my entire sorority showed up front row with like t-shirts that were made. And like, it was like a massive, honestly, it felt like a senior year like send off in a lot of ways too. So I was really fortunate. It was a lot of fun. It was like a very, core memory at Belmont.
What song did you sing on stage?
Well, we did 3. So it's 2 originals and 1 cover. And I did 2 songs that I had written when I was like 15 that you do not want to hear now. And then...
So they're not on Shot in the Dark?
No,
they didn't make it.
They're not. They did not make it. And then I did a cover of Maren Morris's The Middle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
oh, I love... Okay.
It was a good time.
I love Maren too. And one thing I think that you and Maren have in common, and also Casey, I was realizing, is you have a lot of play on words in your music.
Thank you.
Is that
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, where I feel like a lot, it's like there's a lot of double entendres, a lot of double meanings. You think a song's been one way, there's a surprise at the end.
100%.
Were those always like the artists that you gravitated towards growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I always loved, I mean, I love those artists. I also
Yeah.
loved like Rascal Flatts, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, like Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift. I was always a massive fan. I just am so obsessed with words and poetry, as weird as that sounds. I mean, I
think
love
that's
it.
great. Yeah.
And so I think to me, songwriting has always been such a big part of what I do. And I've always, like, when I go to like writers' rounds or shows and somebody has a double entendre in their songs, I'm like,
You're like, that's
how did I not think of that? It's so brilliant. And I've always loved like poems and books that have like really cool twists at the end that make you like at the edge of your seat the whole time. And so I think part of that goes into my songwriting, where I love to have songs that like have a double meaning or a flip that's not cheesy, but it's just that unique and cool and kind of has a different meaning than you would expect. So I try not to like focus on that. I want the song to be great for what the song is, but when we can fit those in, I think that's
it's like, why
cool.
not?
So yeah.
Okay, that's a perfect segue to go into a fast track, because I picked a few of my favorites. Okay, granted, these are like me listening to the album.
Okay, let's do it.
And I was like, these are my favorites. So then I want to hear like your take on it.
I'm excited to hear your favorites too.
Going back in the plan words, the first one, I was like, I've got to listen to the song Mean Girl featuring Colby Calais.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
It's
I'm
so cool. Okay, tell us about this song and again, working with Colby.
Yeah, so Colby has been an inspiration of mine forever. I mean, I'm from a coastal area. She is too. We kind of, have a similar vibe, and people growing up would say that I remind them of Colby, and that was a huge compliment. So,
oh yeah, I guess you guys do kind of. Maybe it is like a doppelganger too. Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Well, so we went into a writing room together, which was a huge honor, anyways, and we sat down to write a song. And I had this idea called Mean Girl, and I brought the idea in. And my initial idea for it was totally different than what we actually ended up writing. My idea was like talking about a girl that's not nice, and that she's like, I'm fine, what do you mean? And you're like, well, I don't think that what you mean, like, is that really what you mean, girl? Because you're not really being too kind right
so
now.
it's still the same idea of like, okay, what do you mean kind of vibe.
Yeah, like a similar flip on the hook. But I was like, man, I have this idea. I don't know how to make it into a duet, but I think it could be cool if it was. We walk in the room. It's myself, Jimmy Robbins, Nicole Gallion, and Colby Calais, which that room is just amazing.
Yeah, that's
Jimmy,
amazing.
Everybody's incredible. And so we kind of like table the writing conversation for a second. And me and Jimmy start talking about my ex-boyfriend, who wasn't exactly the nicest person, who wasn't super great to me. And Jimmy knew about the whole story and everything that happened. And he was like, hey, well, you know that he has a new girlfriend in the room that morning. And I was like, well, now I do. I was like, I didn't know that, but now I do.
Shoot.
And so we kind of start talking about it, and I'm like,
oh my God, the moment you find out your ex is like,
your heart
moved
like
on,
drops.
it's a whole different feeling.
Well, yeah, and especially when they were not great to you in the relationship. So, and it was like pretty soon after we broke up. So I was like, man, this sucks. So we just kind of start venting about it, and I'm like, I would never reach out to her because it's like disrespectful of a relationship, but like I wish that I could warn her about what I experienced, right? And so we start talking about this idea of like a letter to the new girl and like kind of all this, and Jimmy goes, well, what if we use your Mean Girl idea and write it as like a letter to the new girl, and Colby can be like the new girl in the equation and like a conversation in the song?
I just got chills.
I know. And I was like, okay, well, that was perfect. Like the timing of that, my idea, the way that I just learned about this new girlfriend, like all of this stuff. And I was like, this is so cool. So we wrote the song that way, and it kind of ended up being like the top of the chorus is like, this ain't me being mean girl. And then it's, but it's just another thing he doesn't mean girl. And so it's like this cool kind of like letter to the new girl, warning her about what's coming. It's really special, and I'm honored that Colby wanted to be on the master and on the album.
And so serendipitous, you're right, all those things happening at the right time, right place to create that idea.
Right? Like, those are the times in music that I'm like, okay, like so, there's something going on. Like we're in the moment that we need to be in.
Yeah, it almost feels like spiritual in a way.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's talk about another one of my favorites. You mentioned going through this breakup, and I can gather maybe this song was about that. Enough to Leave.
Yes.
I love this one, and I think it's so cool that the songwriters were Matt Roy and Lauren Weintraub on the track.
Yeah, they're incredible. That song is probably, there's a couple like insanely real ones to me, but that song is probably the most like, oh man moment. Like, this is real. You know what I mean? Different relationship, but I was in a pretty toxic relationship, and I knew that I was in love with the guy and he was in love with me, but we weren't right for each other, and we both knew that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my mom one day, and I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. Like, I know that this isn't right, but I don't want to leave and have him think that I don't love him. And my moms always give the best advice. Listen to your moms. And she was like, hey, I think Mama Cooke, she's the best. She was like, I think the best possible way that you can love somebody that's not right for you is if you leave and you let them find the person that is right for them.
Oh.
And so in that moment, I was on the road, and I like was up till like 2 a.m. in my hotel room, like trying to figure out this song because I was obsessed with the idea of Enough to Leave. And then I brought it back to Nashville and finished it with Matt and Lauren. So that song is so real, and it's kind of like for anybody that's ever been in a really, tough relationship that you don't know what to do, you love them, but it's not right. hopefully that song kind of helps you get through it and move on from it peacefully.
Yeah, I love that too. One of my favorite, I love Brene Brown.
Yeah.
And her big thing is she always says, clear is kind.
Yeah.
Like the clearer you are with someone, that's the kindest you can be.
Absolutely.
And that's the same sentiment where it's like the kindest thing you could do for someone would be to leave.
Exactly, which is hard, so hard.
Of course.
But in that moment, you know that that's what's the right thing for them. You know, it's tough to make that call, but you do it because you love them, not because you want to hurt them.
Yeah. Does your mom love that song? Like,
Oh
what
my,
is
she's obsessed. And she's like, I inspired it. That was me. I inspired it.
She's like, what up? She's a writer. One of my other favorites that I initially gravitated towards was It's Been a Year.
Yeah.
And I feel like growing up, like that one hit me in a deep level.
I'm glad.
And you talk about, I mean, at the very beginning, the top of the song, you talk about growing up in Florida. And I
Yeah.
know even just as soon as you mention a hometown, it just takes you there.
It does. It really does. That song, I feel like, you know, I've had the craziest like 2 years of my life in the entire world. I mean, I signed my first record deal. I went on tour, like 4 tours back to back, radio tour. I mean, it was just my Opry debut, my Ryman debut in the same week. Like so many amazing things. And then also like just tough things. Like my grandma had breast cancer for the second time. And my family's had weird health problems and like breakups. And it's been the weirdest combination of like the highest highs and like the lowest lows. And so I walked into the room that day to write that song. And it was like, just we had to get it out. And so that song, I feel like a lot of people walk up at shows and say like that song is the one that resonates the most, and they feel like they've had a tough year for what we've all had an interesting year. You know, I think a lot of people, whether it's the pandemic or what it is, like we've all had weird couple of years. And so it's just, I don't know, I'm glad that people can relate to that and that something so specific in my writing can be universally understood and felt.
Yeah. You know? And you're right. We're all going to have a different reaction to that of like what we're going through at the time.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you, like when you zoom out at your life, like did you picture all this that would be happening? Like, did you have any idea this would be your trajectory? Like thinking about the girl in Belmont studying in marketing. You did. Okay. So you had hoped this was going to be.
I mean, since I was a kid, I've always loved music and kind of just felt like a natural draw towards performing and wanted this to be my life. But I think the way that it happened was so unexpected, which is honestly why I named the album Shot in the Dark, because it feels like so much of my career up to this point has been a shot in the dark. Like I thought I was going to, do the typical Nashville journey, which if you don't know, it's, get a publishing deal, write for a couple of years for other people, maybe get your kind of name around town, maybe release a song of your own, maybe play a showcase a couple years later. It's like a longer journey and it's just a different journey. And then I was graduating, hoping to do all of that. And then pandemic happens and I'm like, okay, well, how do I do it? All of this that I'm supposed to, go meet people at bars and network. And I can't do any of that. Social media happens. And it just kind of happened in a different structure, a different sequence.
It's crazy how like TikTok has really changed the way, I mean, all social media, but like TikTok especially has changed the way that artists are interacting with their fans, creating 100%. Music.
Yeah, it's special. And I feel like I never expected it. So like your question of, did you expect that? I hoped that I would get to this point at some point. I didn't know when or how. And the way that it happened was so unexpected, but I'm happy that I got here somehow.
I also love, speaking of play on words, I love Your Place. That was another one that I was like, I'm obsessed with this.
Thank you. That song's crazy because I put it out I don't even know, not that long ago. And the day that I put it out, I played at a festival the very next day and the entire crowd sang it back to me.
What?
It was wild.
That's gotta be a good feeling.
It's so wild. I was like, oh my gosh, these people know every single word, not just like a chorus, like every single word. I was like, what the heck? So it's really cool.
That was a good one. I love that one. And then let's talk about Good to Be Back.
Oh, I love that song.
Good to Be Back.
I mean, I love them all. I'm biased, but Good to Be Back. I cannot wait to play that song live. We went in to write that song. It was Hunter Phelps, Jameson Rogers, and Elisa Vanderheim, who are like hit makers, right? And they wrote my original opening, come out track, in my show. And so we got together to write, and Jameson Rogers was like, oh, we should write another opener. Let's write your new opener. And so we were talking about what I'd want to say getting on stage without talking. Lyrically, what would I want to say when I get back into Chicago? And I'm like, let's go. So good to be here, Chicago, whatever. And I was like, I'd be like, good to be back. And they're like, that's the song.
Ooh.
So we wrote the song as the show opener.
So that's what you do now, because you're on tour with Luke Bryan.
Exactly.
Which that has to be amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. But I'm pumped to get to play that one more as the opener.
Also another fan favorite, Never Till Now, featuring Brett Young. Tell me about this one, because this one, absolutely exploded.
It did, unexpectedly too. I released that song before I signed my record deal. I was independent. I actually released it without Brett on it, without a feature on it at all. And I was like, oh yeah, let's see what happens. Just kind of chuck it out there and see what happens with it if people like it. And we posted it on social media, and all of a sudden viral. Like, it was crazy. People were making videos to it left and right about their weddings, about their engagements, about their babies, like just everything about the song. I was like, man, like, I love seeing all of these stories and people relating to it so much. Like, I want to give another piece of the story to them and like another voice in the story, in the equation, because typically like relationships are two people, right? And so I was like, man, I'd love to like have another person in the equation. And so I was thinking about who would be great on it, and my producer Jimmy called Brett and was like, hey, I have this new artist, her name's Ashley Cooke, the song Never Till Now. And Brett was like, I love this song. I already know
immediately
this song.
He was like, oh, he already knew it?
Yeah, he had heard it like on the radio or whatever it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, Brett Young, first off, knows who I am. Second off, knows my song. I'm independent at this time, so I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Like, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Huge deal. And so he agreed to do it, and we released it, and it's really special. That song, especially live too, like I opened up for Brett for 2 tours. And for this most recent tour, he came out and sang it with me during my set for his headline show.
Oh my God.
And it was just really special. The whole crowd.
I was going to say, did the crowd go nuts?
I
can imagine.
Yeah, and so many stories, so many engagements happened during that song live. It's really
in the
special.
show, like at the concert engagements, what happened in the crowd?
Oh yeah, CMA Fest this year.
What?
I was like in the middle of singing Never Till Now, just like, oh, this is so fun. And I was like, wait a minute. Did you just get engaged? They're like, yeah. I was like, what? This is so cool. So,
oh my God. What would happen if y'all didn't play that song? They're going to be like, shit.
I know. I'm like, I always have to play this. In their
you
sets
always
now.
do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's how crazy that you're a part of people's engagements.
Oh, it's bizarre. Actually, I shouldn't say that. This weekend something's happening, but I can't say that.
Are you getting engaged?
No. Yeah, it's
oh
really
my God.
Cool. People like will reach out to like propose in our set, and I'm like, yeah, I'll come on stage. Like, I'll let them.
What?
Of course. I mean, that's a huge moment.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fun.
It's exciting. It's really
okay,
cool.
so you're on tour with Luke Bryan, and you're about to go on your own headlining tour, right?
I am. My very first one.
Tell me, how do you prepare for that? What goes into that?
So much. I think it's also crazy going from like, 30,000, 40,000 people with Luke Bryan, like to a headline show. It's just a different feel, which is so much fun. It's just very, very different. So we kind of structure the set based off of that. But it's fun. I mean, it feels like my show. I've opened up for a lot of people the last couple of years, which has been amazing to just learn from people and get to grow as an artist. And there's a lot. I think every artist should open up for people as much as they can before.
Yeah, and just to like see, I'm sure, just to absorb and see how other artists do it. Yeah,
and watch other shows too. It's all of that stuff. But I'm excited because it's my crowd. It's my people. It's the people that have followed me since day one and that know every single word. And there's just a different energy in the room with a headline show. So I'm excited. The tickets are flying like crazy, and I'm really honored.
So exciting, actually. It's really so cool. Okay, so I told you some of my favorites. I'm curious for you in this moment. I know it's like picking a favorite child, but like, so hard. What song are you most proud of right now?
I feel like I've chosen a new one like all the time, but right now in this moment, I'm gonna pick track 12, which is called "Next to You." And it's the only song on the project I wrote completely by myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's number 12 because it's right smack dab in the middle of the project. And number 12 is my lucky number. It's my birthday. It's my dad's high school like sports number. And it's just a really special song. It's kind of about, how crazy this life is and all these experiences and opportunities, and that it doesn't really mean anything without the people that are around you that, hold you up and that are there for you in every single season. So that song in this moment is probably the most proud because I wrote it by myself, and it means a lot to me. But it might change in 5 minutes. Stay tuned.
What does your family think of all this, by the way? Are they blown away?
They're so excited. They've been the most supportive people in my life. I mean, always. My parents have enabled both my sister and I's dreams. My sister's an actress, and so we've just kind of
like a creative family. That was like,
my parents are not. My sister
really had their offspring really put in the work. Yeah,
it's actually really funny because they're like totally not involved with creativity at all. Well, my mom like writes books, but anyways, moving on.
She's an author.
She
must be very creative.
Really yeah. But yeah, I mean, they try to come to as many shows as they can. My parents have debated getting like an RV and following us around like to go to the shows. My God. And I'm like, that sounds fun, but also like, is that a little much? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, but they're so supportive. So amazing. I couldn't do this without them.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we're so excited for you. Okay, the last thing I have before I let you go is I saw on Instagram that this week, leading up to the big like release, you're doing 7 shots in 7 days.
Yep.
Did you take your shot already? Did you take some more?
I did 7 shots in one sitting, but everybody made fun of me because...
Wait, 7 shots in one sitting?
Yeah, it was like 7 shots. Like, yeah.
Oh my God, I thought that was 1 a day.
Okay, so So it was supposed to be 7 shots in one sitting, and I did that, but then everybody made fun of me because it was like these
little
little
cups?
mini ones. Yes, and they're like, that's not a real shot. And I'm like, okay, well, you try it. I'm
But
a
you did
lightweight.
7 of them.
Yes. And I was like, okay, I was buzzing. I was having a good time. And I was like, you guys, I will be in the hospital if I take 7 full shots. If we get a number 1 song, I'll do 7 real
The
full
7
shots.
real shots. Oh
Yes.
my God. I
That's-
love that.
Mark my words. We'll do it together.
Oh, I'm
committing
here.
you to it.
I'm excited. No, bring out the mini glasses for me too. I'm scared. What is your drink of choice, by the way?
Ooh, it just depends. Before a show, it's Jack Daniels.
Oh.
But other than that, I love tequila. So like,
Okay, so
Casamigos.
producers, we'll have tequila on site ready to go.
Deal.
And I goes, yeah, I love that. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. We're
you.
so excited for you and congratulations. Shot in the Dark is out now. Can we give it up for Ashley being in our heart studio?
Thank you so much.
And of course, thank you all for watching. Make sure you stream all of Ashley Cooke's music on iHeartCountry, including her debut album, Shot in the Dark, that's out now. And we will see you next time. Bye, guys.